Welcome back. Hope you're doing good. If you're new here, this is Beyond Waking Realm, where we dive deep into games that hit different. Story, emotion, soul. If that's your vibe, I'd love for you to stick around. Drop a like, comment, or subscribe if you feel called to. Now let's get into it. There's something about Leia that caught me off guard. It wasn't the way she fought. It wasn't even how she looked or sounded. It was the way she carried her pain. Like a flower pressed between pages. Delicate, but preserved. Wounded, but not broken. When we first meet her as the legendary stalker, she's already fading. Not in a dramatic way, but quietly. The petrification disease is working its way through her body like rot between porcelain, but she still stands with dignity. Still speaks with grace. Still leads with love. That alone told me everything. Leia wasn't trying to be strong. She was strong. But her strength didn't look like brute force or rage. It looked like restraint. It looked like sorrow softened over time. Like someone who had to cut away parts of themselves just to survive. And when she spoke about Valentina's monad, her father, I could feel it. She didn't just mourn him, she loved him. Truly. But she also knew she had to let him go. Not because she stopped caring, but because the truth, the atrocity behind his name was too great to carry. She said goodbye not out of hate, but because love couldn't blind her anymore. She loved him, and she wanted to tell him, but all she could do was leave him a letter, but she was happy to call her his father and loved him, and to say, I love being your daughter. And that hit me, because that's a different kind of heartbreak. Not the kind that screams and burns and lashes out, but the kind that whispers, I still love you, but I can't keep you with me. That's not weakness, that's courage. But what moved me even more is that she didn't stay closed off. Even after all that loss, after cutting off the man who shaped her life, Leia still opened her heart again. To two people she called her apprentices, Romeo and Carlo. She saw something in them, maybe innocence, maybe hope, maybe just a chance to feel warmth again in a world growing colder. And even as her body deteriorated, even as death loomed over her, she chose to keep living, not for herself, but for them. After the performance with Arlecchino, when the chaos quieted, and how she struggled and pushed her body to limits just to get to Arlecchino, just to save Romeo, because what happened to Carlo, that even we still don't know what truly happened to Carlo, and maybe just a little behind the scenes and details that we might have missed, or maybe we can only theorize that it was the alchemist that did that, which I think it was the, what do they call it, the, basically when Monad Charity House, the massacre, the badness, all that had ended. Maybe it was them, maybe that's what happened to Carlo's death, right? But she was still there after defeating Arlecchino, not as a boss, not as an obstacle, but as a presence, a fading light. And I felt this deep, almost desperate need to help her. Not because she asked, but because she reminded me of something I didn't realize I was holding on to. That small, stubborn belief that maybe, just maybe, someone like her could have peace. That maybe she could get a final day filled with laughter, a sunset, a moment where she didn't have to be strong, where she could just exist and pass quietly on her own terms with love beside her. But that dream was fragile, and it shattered with Jeppetto. That man, that father figure, the one we trusted, who had walked beside us in this entire time, albeit in spirit, but lo and behold, in the background of everything that happened before the base game, we found out that he betrayed her. They may not have known each other, but like they knew of each other. He betrayed all of us. For what? His obsession? His fantasy? His own idea of salvation? He tore away that small chance of peace, and I wasn't just angry. I wasn't just disappointed. I was heartbroken. I remember turning off the game, and I didn't cry. I didn't speak. I just laid there, in bed, for over an hour, staring at the ceiling. Because I wasn't grieving a boss fight. I wasn't even thinking about the mechanics or the lore. I was sitting with Leia's story, with everything she endured, everything she chose to love again despite knowing it would hurt, and I couldn't shake it. You know, sometimes we praise characters who go out in a blaze of glory. Swords drawn, explosions, martyrdom. But Leia was different. She didn't need fire, she was the ember, glowing quietly, burning through layers of trauma, sorrow, and sacrifice. Not to destroy, but to warm, to comfort, to protect. I don't know how long she lived after the events of the DLC, if she could have lived longer if Jeppetto was not there. Maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks. Romeo, same thing. But in my heart, she got one moment of peace. She got to see Romeo smile. She was near enough to hold Carlo close again when she realized who he was. She got to feel safe again. And then she faded like candlelight in the dark, not extinguished, just at rest. But that was all cut down when Jeppetto showed up, and that alone made me feel, Leia, you deserved better, but you made sure we remembered how to feel. And I'll carry that with me, because you mattered more than you'll ever know. Well guys, this is my reflective and emotional feeling and how I feel about at the end of the base game, DLC, and the ending of the overture and how things ended. And things were kind of left in the air, and we were led into this room and finding a letter that she wrote to us. And yeah, I was in tears after I processed everything. Shit's crazy, but I feel for this. I feel for them. Alright, beautiful people, stay true to yourselves, and until next time.